All right, here in our part 2 of our eyebrow dormer, we are going to join the geometry of these two roof objects, and then we will cut an opening and we will attach this wall to the roofs, and it'll create that nice little dormer effect, and then we can add in our window. So let's start by doing a join geometry. We'll go to our modify tab, and over here we'll click on our join and we'll say join geometry. We could pick the top half of that split button if we wanted, but we're going to do a join geometry. So we're going to join this roof and the dormer roof and the main roof. What that's going to do is kind of merge the two of them together and create some kind of seam lines and start to treat these guys as one object. Okay. Now if you hover over there, you see this little kind of parabola shape inside of there. That's the actual opening in the big roof that we have to create to remove the material. To do that, we're going to go to our level 2. And so let's do that. Level 2, double click. Okay, now watch what I'm going to do here. This is a nice little trick. When you want to see where objects intersect when they've been joined, switch over to wireframe. Okay, and you're going to see that this is the shape that we need to remove from that main roof. So we're going to use an opening tool here on our modify tab. We'll click on opening and then we will say a vertical opening. And you can see there'll be an extended tip, and there's exactly what we're going to do. Vertical opening, and then it says to select an object, floor, roof, or ceiling. So we'll say okay, pick on this roof. And now all I want to do is I'm just going to use my pick option to sketch in the lines because the geometry is already there. Click on here, click on there, draw a little piece of line from here to here. Okay, that's my shape, and then finish the opening. Now that's cut the opening in my roof. Okay, I can switch back to be shaded now. It's not going to change this view, but if you go to a 3D view, you can see that it's now cut the opening. Okay, shift middle mouse button. It's now created that opening in the main roof. Okay, for this to work, there has to be a little bit of overlap between my dormer roof and this roof, and you should see a little bit of edging in here, and we can fix that later just by turning those into invisible lines, or you can start tweaking the thickness of this if you want, but I'm just erroring on the side of the safe side. Now that we have that opening, I can pick on this wall and I simply say attach to here, and then it'll project itself up to the underside of that roof object, and that's why we wanted this in place family to be a category roof. Now depending if we want, if we want this wall to join or attach to there, we can do a secondary attach by picking on this wall again in the front and saying attach to the main roof, and it'll attach itself up right to the underside of there. And then again we can see shift middle mouse button, and now we've got what we wanted up inside of there. Now let's switch to our south elevation. Well, let's bring this around a little bit first. Okay, south elevation, pan over, and it's showing a little bit of delayed display there. Don't worry about that. And now we can say add a window, home, and click on our window tab, or I should say window button. Select the window type from our type selector. Mine's already set up in there. Go in, place this, and I want to center it, so I'm going to purposely kind of place it off to the side, and then I'll use my align tool by going to modify, and I will say align to this reference plane, this window, escape, and then I can take this and use my arrow key to nudge up or down or change that size however I want. Okay, now if I don't want to see these seam lines in here, it's up to you. I can use my line work tool by clicking on here on our modify tab, and I can go in and select invisible lines off of the line types, and I can go in here now if I want. It's up to you, and I can click on there and I can actually turn those off. Maybe I want to see them, maybe I want to see a soft transition there. It's up to you, and you have to do this per view. Okay, so that's really depends on how you want that. If you're doing elevations, you might want to see that line. Okay, that also works in a 3D view as well. So over to our 3D view, double click. And then again, I can go in here and use my nice line work tool. You can do this in any view. I don't know if people use a lot of it, but for this type of thing, so I might get rid of, a couple of these lines, but it's a little bit of a finesse thing. I might want to actually leave that one line. I definitely want to get rid of these little lines, and you have to go 1, 2 to do that one twice, because there's one as part of the main roof and one as part of the eyebrow roof. So click once, click twice. Oh, must have missed it. There we go. Escape, escape. And there we have it. Eyebrow dormer roof. Now you might want to make this slope a little bit. If you start getting errors and stuff, you have to make sure once again that the actual dormer roof is kind of half penetrating the other roof. If you fall short, you'll get some errors. So I might even want to go in with my line work tool here. This is where I probably do want to have, definitely want to hide those lines. Depends on if you're doing an interior elevation. So go in and tweak these guys. Once you get it working the first time, then if you want to go in and fine tune it, you can go back and re-edit this object by clicking on this in place family and saying edit in place. Okay, and then from there you can go in and start to modify maybe the thickness of these profiles. Oh, and when I go to modify that error or that message was telling me that it's going to unjoin it from this roof. Okay, if I go in and I hit no on that. So if I do go in and say edit in place, it's going to say, okay, you can do that, but you need to unjoin it from the main roof and then rejoin it again. So now we're back into editing this, and now I can click on this guy and say, okay, edit the base or edit the top. So if I edit the top, then I can go in and modify that shape. Okay, if I say edit the base, I can go in and modify this shape up here. And then when I'm done, I say finish the blend, and it goes back and finishes that blend up, and then finish the family. So you might want to go in and back and tweak that as well. Remember, we went to our east elevation, and I took this and I pulled this back a little bit, so you can see that. You see how my dormer roof is just a little bit thicker or a little bit underneath this, and I'm looking at an elevation here, not a section. You'll notice this is sticking up a little bit. So if this dormer roof doesn't go completely through the main roof, you might get some errors. So better to make it a little bit too thick than not thick enough. And remember, if I change this to be wireframe here, you'll see that this is an arc in looking at in edge. So if you take the end of that arc and pull it up, effectively you're going to move the underside of this. So there's some tweaking that you might want to go in to take place. But for the most part, that's going to get you what you want there. And then again, we can go in and use our line work to get rid of that invisible line, or apply an invisible line over to here. Again, it's up to you on what slope you want. Try to get it in the first time and then go back and modify it, make your changes accordingly. So there's our nice eyebrow dormer with a window in it, and joined up with our roof and our nice little wall that's attached there. And you can again go in through and make more of these lines invisible as you please. With a 3D view, you're going to notice little lines kind of showing up here and there, not a big deal. And then there's our south elevation. Looks just like that. So thanks for coming out. I hope you learned something. And I just noticed here I need to have some more in hidden lines. I keep coming back here. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of this piece. Rid of this piece. Little more cleanup on my elevation line. Okay. If you end up hiding lines that you only want part of, you can go back and use model lines to add those model lines back in. As an example, if I take this and get rid of it just to get rid of that one piece, and then I'm missing this line, you can go in and use annotation and model lines and recreate a model line on that edge if you want. So that's really up to you on how you want to deal with those invisible lines.